Hi, my name is Mallory Friedman. I am a fellow student in EDU 207. I will be doing my YA book review on All American Boys. All American Boys was published in 2015 and received the Coretta Scott King Award in 2016. It has 310 pages and it is a fiction YA novel. All American Boys was written by Jason Reynolds and Brenton Kiely. Both of these authors were inspired by the Trayvon Martin shooting in 2012 to write this book. Trayvon Martin was a junior in high school, I believe, who was fatally shot by someone in his Neighborhood Watch program who thought that he was maybe doing something illegal or on drugs or doing something sketchy. And there's no evidence to support that that was the case, but the man did shoot Trayvon Martin and killed him. This was at the time of the height of the police brutality discourse and the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement. And overall, they were inspired to write this book by that event and everything that was going on at the time. And this is just their way of adding to the discourse and adding their opinion to the conversation about police brutality. So the story opens with Rashad's voice. Rashad is a sophomore, I believe, in a high school, and he is in ROTC. We are introduced to his family. We find out that his father used to be a police officer, and Rashad is with his friends, and they're talking about going to a party later, and Rashad is saying that he's going to get something to eat. So Rashad goes to the local convenience store, and he is hoping to buy some chips. In the convenience store, there is a woman who's also shopping, there is a clerk, and then there's a police officer who is just monitoring and making sure that no one steals or nothing happens. So Rashad goes and he grabs his chips, and then he reaches into his pocket to grab his phone and realizes that his phone is actually in his backpack. So he takes his backpack off and he's looking through it for his phone, and the woman doesn't see him because he's on the floor rummaging through his bag, and she trips over him and she falls on the floor, and he's saying that he's sorry and she's saying, no, I'm sorry. And in all of the hectic, everything going on, the police officer thinks that Rashad is stealing, and Rashad is saying, no, that's not what I was trying to do at all. He says, I can prove it. I have money in my pocket, and he goes to reach into his pocket, and the police officer thinks that he's going to be pulling out a gun, so the policeman tackles him, puts him in handcuffs. He is beating him up. The policeman takes him outside of the convenience store and is beating him up on the sidewalk, and eventually Rashad loses consciousness. And then the next chapter is from the voice of Quinn, and we are introduced to him. He goes to the same high school that Rashad goes to, but they're not friends. They just kind of recognize each other. Quinn is with his friends, and he's hoping to get some alcohol. He's hoping to have someone who's older buy them alcohol. And he splits off from his friends and goes to talk to this man. And before he can even talk to him, he sees Rashad being pushed out of the convenience store and getting beaten up. And he doesn't recognize Rashad, other than the fact that he is also a boy who goes to his high school. But he does recognize the police officer. And the police officer is Quinn's best friend's brother, his older brother. And his name is Paul. And he is kind of like an older brother to Quinn as well. And Quinn is shocked by what he saw. He doesn't want to talk to the police, and he ends up just running away and getting away from the situation. So the story continues, and Rashad is at the hospital. He has broken bones, he has internal bleeding, he might need surgery. He is trying to tell his family, like, look, I wasn't trying to steal, I promise. And his older brother, Spoonie, is infuriated by what happened. He believes Rashad. He thinks that this was absolutely a situation of racial profiling and police brutality. And he shows Rashad this video that one of the witnesses took on their phone, and it's the whole situation going down of Rashad being beaten, and Rashad is shocked by what he sees, and it continues with Quinn. So Quinn is really shook by what he saw. He knows that Paul is a good police officer, and he knows that he was just trying to do the right thing, but he's having a lot of trouble justifying the level of violence that happened. Overall, Quinn starts going through some character development and realizing that by not saying anything, he is contributing to the problem. There's this awesome quote that I love on page 140 where he is thinking about what's happening, and his basketball coach is, telling the students to play basketball and don't worry about what happened, even though everyone at the school is talking about it. And he's saying, I don't feel like we can leave this alone. I don't think we can really pretend to be a team right now when this is going on. And he says, instead, I knew there was a problem and I was beginning to think I was a part of it, whether I was in the video or not. So the real climax of this story is when Quinn goes back to school on Monday, and graffitied in front of the school is the words #Rashad is absent today. And everyone at the school is talking about it. Everyone is using the hashtag on social media. Quinn just feels really uncomfortable. He just really thinks that he's going to become part of the problem if he doesn't do anything about it, but he wants to continue to be loyal to his best friend. The climax continues with Rashad, and Rashad's big brother is showing him all the pictures of the graffiti in front of the school and how everyone is using his name to support their movement and their discussion about police brutality. And Rashad feels uncomfortable being made a symbol, but ultimately he says that he realizes that it's bigger than him at this point, and he wants to help. After some continued character development for both Quinn and Rashad, the school decides that they are going to organize a march in protest, and Quinn finally decides that he is going to join that march. He ends up wearing a shirt to school that says, "I'm marching" on the front and "Are you" on the back, and his friend, Guzzo, who is Paul's younger brother, is really upset by him deciding to choose the side of Rashad, but Quinn really feels like he's doing the right thing. And ultimately, on the morning of the march, he calls the police and gives his statement and tells them what he saw. And he is joining the march, and at the same time, Rashad is getting out of the hospital and also joining the march. And the book concludes with them lying on the ground doing what they call a die-in at the march. And Quinn and Rashad lock eyes from across the street, and they're both thinking about what they're going to be doing for their community and what this really means and how they're really a part of something bigger at this point. I really, really enjoyed this book. It actually came to me in another class about a year ago, one of my education courses, and we read it because it was being recommended as a book that we could teach to our students in our future classroom, because I'm an English education major, and our professor was telling us that this would be something great to teach, and especially with everything that's been going on lately in the news and all of the discussion about police brutality and racial profiling, I think it's really important to teach subjects like this in school. It's really school-friendly as well. There's a whole bunch of questions at the back of the book, like discussion questions for teachers to use to help them build the discourse and really think critically about what happened in the book. There's a quote in the book at the very end. Quinn is holding up a picket sign for the march, and it says, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor." And that quote really, really stuck with me. I just think it sums up a whole lot of what the book is about. So it was really impactful. It's a really, really good read. It's a quick read. I read it in like a day, honestly. It's full of action and there's not a dull moment. I definitely recommend it, especially if you are also an education major, which I guess you would be if you're in this class. But I would definitely recommend teaching this to your students in the future if you need something that can fit into a curriculum talking about what's fair and, everything like that. Yeah, that's my review. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you pick up this book and read it. Again, my name is Mallory Friedman, and thank you.